Hello everyone, this is Joshua Phillips for Mathematics Starting from Nothing. This is episode 1, the first step of counting. As a very brief introduction to the channel, because this is the first episode with content, Mathematics Starting from Nothing is a series of videos about math with two key ideas, or themes. Number 1, we're going to go through the ideas of mathematics at a very slow rate. We're going to go one idea at a time, step by step. The goal is that this is a very accessible series of videos if you find math challenging, and it hopefully provides an interesting way of seeing math if you're already quite familiar with it. The second idea or theme is that we are starting at the very bottom of math. We're not going to assume any background mathematical knowledge. And with that, our first episode is the first step of counting. So imagine that we have, a basket of apples, and we'd like to find a way to communicate the quantity of apples we have in a basket without having to open the basket up and count them. And of course, this is interesting because it translates to any kind of situation like this. If we want to know how many people have entered the building today, we're going to be able to do something similar to what we're about to do. If we're counting any object in any kind of container that we'd like to label, the same idea applies. So to our one for today, we have this pile of apples. And we'd like to find a way of labeling the quantity of apples that is more convenient than just having all the apples. And this first idea, the first step of counting, is that for each apple, and I'm going to color them in as I go, for each apple, we're going to put a tally mark down in this label. And as you can see, we just go through our apples, and for each apple, we put down a mark. In case you are wondering, I did draw these pictures by hand. Please do not make fun of my art too much. I am quite aware that it is quite bad. So now we'll just do a few more of these apples to keep counting. So we make a mark for each apple. And we continue. And as you notice, as we get to these apples, we've now counted all of them and put a line for each. So this would allow someone to keep track of how many apples are in the barrel using this kind of label. That's the first basic idea of math. That if we have a quantity of objects, that is a pile of objects, we can count them by creating a tally mark of some kind for each object. And now an additional thing you might have noticed is that it's kind of difficult to see how many marks we've drawn. In the same way, it's somewhat difficult to see how many apples there were. So a neat way of handling this is that when we have tally marks, instead of drawing them all vertically, and we'll go to a second box here to make it a little bit clearer, we're going to copy these tally marks down. But with this additional rule that we will put this many down. So these 4 tally marks are the same as these first ones. For the next tally mark, we will put it diagonally through the group. This is the same as the number of fingers the average person has on one hand. This is probably why this grouping in general was chosen, and we'll continue that by taking the next set of tally marks, the next 5 of them, spoiler alert, out. And then we have these additional ones that we will copy down. And so this is episode 1, the first step of counting. We did 2 things. One, we wanted to be able to label the amount of apples we had. So we wrote down simple vertical lines for each apple. Secondly, we realized that that was still a bit unwieldy. So we decided to group the lines via a certain rule that we place a diagonal line through a certain number of lines to make it easier to read the quantity. If you enjoyed the video, please share, please subscribe. I really appreciate any feedback and any publicity. Thank you very much, everyone, and have a nice day.